Hello, hey, welcome back to the Teal Jack channel. My name is Todd. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch another one of my videos. I have been cutting back on my recording times, most of it due to the fact that it takes so many hours to edit through a video, and it's occupying so much of my time. What I'm discussing today is the new change that YouTube has put forth, and I say enough is enough. It is now time, since the lawmakers haven't done anything yet, it is time for them to do something now. YouTube is now censoring any videos, removing them, probably removing people who post them, at least giving them strikes if they do post any video discussing election fraud. So one more time, the communists who control YouTube are now silencing the voice of the people. This seems so eerily to that which the Bolsheviks did, spreading lies through the media to pitch their agenda, ultimately denying facts and truth that were available. And that's what YouTube is trying to do. Now, I'm not saying that every allegation of fraud is factually based or true, but what? We just overlook it? So anyway, YouTube released a statement that basically states this. I will read parts of it, so bear with me. Our main goal going into the election season was to make sure we're connecting people with authoritative information. Why did I specify that? Well, I'll get into that here in a little bit. While also limiting the reach of misinformation and removing harmful content. I just have to state, how is discussing fraud in our election harmful? Why? Because it goes against the narrative the left-wing news media is pitching? I think that's the case. They consider it harmful that anybody would question the legalities of an election where, for instance, people voted who are no longer amongst the living, or people voted who shouldn't be voting, or whatever the irregularity might have been. Why is that so harmful to discuss those things and to allow people to present facts? And that leads me to the question of this. What are the facts? Is the facts only related to that which the left-wing media tells you or what YouTube wants you to hear? So we're no longer allowed to have a dissenting voice that might question those facts? I go on. The work here is ongoing, and we want to provide an update. And it goes on to state, our community guidelines prohibit spam, scams, or other manipulative media, coordinated influence operations, and any content that seeks to incite violence. Coordinated influence. Wait a minute, isn't that the left-wing news media who spent 4 years lying about Trump-Russia collusion? Or who promoted all the lies about Trump's impeachment around the Ukraine phone call? That was pretty coordinated, yet none of those news sites were removed. Yet if you dare to discuss Biden or to discuss face masks and their lack of working or how they work, your videos are removed because you're not authoritative. Since September, we've terminated over 8,000 channels and thousands of harmful and misleading election-related videos and for violating our existing policies. Violating our existing policies because, just like me, I dared to question the CDC based on my knowledge from my previous employment as a paramedic as not being valid. Yeah, got it. I see where the authoritative knowledge comes from. We also work to make sure that the line between what is removed and what is allowed is drawn in the right place. Wait a minute. You're supposed to be a platform, not a publisher, yet you're acting like a publisher. Either choose to be a publisher or choose to be a platform, but you can't have the protections of a platform and continue to operate as a publisher. And this is why Section 230 needs to be removed from social media, because they're violating it. They aren't operating as platforms. They are indeed operating as publishers. Now, I'm on board if somebody's showing some child in a sexual promiscuous manner, or a video showing a guy or a woman being raped, or whatever that might be. I can understand some of those cases. Or, for instance, the beheading of people by ISIS. Yet those videos can be found on YouTube. But they removed my video because I dare to speak on the masks issue and their effectiveness or not effectiveness, and I presented facts. And some of those facts came from CDC's own website and the World Health Organization, and yet it was removed for misinformation and propaganda, spam. We also disallow content alleging widespread fraud or errors changing the outcome of a historical U.S. presidential election. They didn't remove any of the content leading up to, the Hillary Clinton-Trump 2016 election. They continue to spread the fraud that took place up and coming around those issues, or the allegations thereof, and those videos were never removed. But when it dared to affect the current outcome, because people like me and others decide we're tired of the lies the media is pushing, and we're going to present our own factual information that we gather from reputable sources, and we're going to present them to the American people because we're not having a voice in our media. Now we're being removed or threatened to be removed. However, in some cases, that has meant allowing controversial views on the outcome or process of counting votes of a current election as election officials have worked to finalize counts. So I guess as long as they're still counting, we'll let those videos slide, but as soon as the counting's done and you decide to point out the irregularities that took place, nope, you can't. You can't. You're not an authoritative source. Yesterday was the safe harbor deadline for the U.S. presidential election, and enough states have certified election results to determine the president-elect. Right, I understand these states have certified. But how dare you question that certification? How dare you speak out on things that might have taken place with multiple witnesses who wrote affidavits under the grounds of perjury? Yeah, don't bring up that information. Don't want to hear it. Given that, we will start removing any piece of content uploaded today or any time after that misleads people by alleging that widespread fraud or errors change the outcome of the 2020 U.S. presidential election. In line with our approach toward historical U.S. presidential elections. Wait a minute! In line with your historical approach to U.S. presidential elections, or how did it state it? In line with our approach towards historical. What line? What line? I don't recall YouTube since 2005 censoring or removing content when people stated there was fraud in the election. Until now. Because historically, they've allowed our voice to be heard, including 2016, including Hillary Clinton and a bunch of other Democrats running for the last 4 years saying that Trump colluded with Russia and illegally stole the election. They didn't remove her. They didn't stop her on her fraud allegations.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows that there were a bunch of different reasons why the election turned out the way it did, and I take responsibility for those parts of it that I should, but Jane, it was like applying for a job and getting 66 million letters of recommendation and losing to a corrupt human tornado. And so I know that he knows that this wasn't on the level. I don't know that we'll ever know everything that happened, but clearly we know a lot and are learning more every day, and history will probably sort it all out.
This week we saw cold, hard evidence of the Trump campaign, indeed the Trump family, eagerly intending to collude possibly with Russia, a hostile foreign power, to influence American elections.
But I guess because our name isn't Clinton, or we don't have Democrat behind our name, we're now going to be removed and not allowed to have a voice. Now, bear in mind, I'm not saying anything in this video that there was fraud in our election. So this video should not be removed on those grounds alone. I'm not saying in this video there was fraud in our election. All I'm saying is we should have a right to speak on it and not be silenced or threaten to have our account closed or to have our video removed and given a strike. For example, we remove videos claiming that a presidential election won the election due to widespread software glitches or counting errors. Yeah, right. Don't discuss anything that might have actually happened with witnesses who wrote an affidavit under the grounds of perjury. Yet you can't listen to them and you can't speak on them. Why? Because I'm not authoritative. So what then is authoritative under YouTube? Who are the authoritative sources of YouTube? Well, YouTube gets into this, and I'm going to leave you a link to their authoritative sources are ABC News, NBC, USA Today, CNN, CBS. Those are their top 5 authoritative sources. What makes them their top 5 authoritative sources? Well, let me tell you. So YouTube makes the claim that on average, 88% of the videos in the top 10 search results related to elections came from authoritative news sources. Amongst the rest are things like newsy late night shows, creator video, and commentary. Is there any chance that the reason these top 10 search results result in these is because of the algorithms YouTube has? Because I can tell you, I don't get my news sources from these people anymore. So in my eyes, they're not authoritative, especially when they pitched lies for the last 4 years. Trump-Russia collusion being the big one. And it goes on. And mostly viewed channels and videos are from news channels like NBC and CBS. So YouTube sees these left-wing news media sources as being authoritative because they're in their list of popularity. Not that they're factually based, they're authoritative because they're popular. Well, that's like saying Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan have authority in our country because they were popular basketball players. Are you kidding me? So authoritative has nothing to bear on factual evidence. It's whether they're popular. If that's the case, the low person in school will never see anything and have any part of being authoritative because they're not the popular kid in school. So we're now going back to school days where only the bullies get to have their words said, and the low man, the small guy, the nerd, if you will, can't say anything because they're not popular. That's the logic of the left. If you can't tell, this has me tweaked. I'm sorry about that. There are many others like me who are upset over what YouTube is doing. And I'm even more upset that our government isn't doing anything to end this censorship that YouTube is doing. to end their protection under, I believe it's section 230, because they're no longer acting as a platform. They are acting as a publisher. And again, I'm okay if they want to act like a publisher, but you don't get the protection of the platform if you do. And that's what they are. They're censoring. If they don't agree with it, if it doesn't agree with their authoritative sources who lied to the American people over the last several years and have been, I mean, look no further than the Trump-Russia collusion. How can you not see that as they were lying to the American people? But they're authoritative because they're popular. Now, by all means, I am not saying that those left-wing news media sources lie all the time, because they don't. There are times they actually present a story and they present it that's factually based. But what I am saying is I don't trust them. And many people like me don't trust them. So we've been getting our news from other sources, or like I do, go and research it yourself on other sources that aren't swayed by the Democrats or have any ties to Democrat politics or the Democratic Party, or who donate money to the Democrat Party. And look at people like, oh, I don't know, John Stossel, who don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. If you do something wrong in our country or violate laws, he's going to point it out. And he's going to let the American people know. And we need more reporters like him that dare to go out and actually investigate and present the facts they find. But instead, we're getting inundated every single night with people who just want to sit there and blatantly lie to the American people and then claim the Republicans are the ones that are lying. Again, I say, look no further than the last 4 years of Trump-Russia collusion and the lies they presented around the phone call with the president of Ukraine. I'm upset because freedom of speech is being squashed under the grounds of community guidelines and misinformation. I've come to the conclusion that YouTube really doesn't care about facts, because if they did, they will allow the voice of all parties to continue to speak and allow the court of public opinion sway whether those facts are true or not, instead of some people high and mighty on their power to tell everybody else how you should think, because that's communism. And I believe that's what these platforms are. These social media platforms are communistic in nature. You abide by us or we remove you. You can't say what you want. You can't speak what you want. And how dare you present factual evidence? You'll be removed because it goes against our ideology. And that's what's going on. This is a battle of ideologies in our country. Speak on what the left says. If you don't, you're removed. Say what the left-wing media says. Regurgitate what they say. You can stay. But if you dare to think other, if you dare to have a mind that decides to go out and look for facts, go out and look for evidence, spend your time researching, and then present those facts, even though you don't have ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, the list goes on, behind your name, you can't be heard anymore. Now, by all means, I'm not saying in this video that they're removing everything that I say. They are saying they will remove it if it's discussing anything or around fraud of our elections. And keep in mind, I have not said anything in this video that is declaring this election was fraudulent. And I've purposely not, prior to this even, because I had a feeling YouTube would pull videos if they did. Not to mention there were other sources that were presenting the facts in greater detail, and I just didn't want to spend the time to dig into the research and to present to you all a video. So this video is long. I'm sorry for that. Bear with me. I hope you're doing well. And I guess we have to now sit and wait to see what happens with the rest of the lawsuits that are still out, and with the Supreme Court lawsuit that was filed by Texas against Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That has now been joined by multiple other states in amicus briefs, including going to be the president. And it sounds like the ACLJ might jump on board there as well as Arizona. So the list of people jumping on board with Texas is growing, and the states that are jumping on board with Texas is growing. So now we just got to wait to see the outcome of this particular court case, because this particular case is outcome determinative. I believe this is going to be the deciding on whether or not Biden is elected, or the court kicks it back down to the states to choose new electors. And we'll have to wait and see how that would turn out, because that could still end up in a vote for Biden, or it might end up being in a vote for Trump. And we'll just have to wait and see. So that's where we're at. Those are my thoughts for the day. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time. Hi, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch one of my videos. Please hit the like button below, and if you would, hit the subscribe link up here, and take some time to watch one of my other videos. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day. God bless, and take care of yourself.